Hey guys, it's Mary and welcome back to Study Journey. Welcome back to the game series. This is the second and last episode of the collections game. In today's video, we're going to be finishing off the code. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So in the previous game, we started the collection game, and now this is how much we have wrote for the programming, where we can move the catcher left or right to catch the ball. However, when we catch it, the ball just keeps on floating in its own direction and it never comes back down. And also we can move this catcher off the screen, which is really inconvenient because it can get lost. And also we don't have a score calculator for it. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's episode. So the next thing I'm going to program is actually how we can stop the catcher at the edges of the screen. So I'm going to comment stop catcher at edges of screen so I know what my code below is writing. So if the catcher goes beyond, let's say, 50, we're going to move it back to 50. And if it goes beyond 350, because this canvas is 400 by 400, we're going to also move it back. So if the catcher dot x, or the x value, is less than 50, then we're going to set the catcher back to 50. And then if the catcher goes above 350, then we're going to set the catcher back to 350. So now let's run it. As we can see, we can move our catcher, but it won't go beyond the two edges, and that is perfect. So now that we have this, where is the ball, right? When it hits the catcher, it just goes on in its own place and it never comes back. Well, we had to program it so that if the object actually collides with the catcher, we have to move it back to a random position on the top so it can fall back down again. So if the object collides with the catcher, we can move it back to a random position on the top. And so in the program, if following object dot collides with, what does it collide with? The catcher. Then we can set the y coordinate of the following object to 0, so it's at the top again. And we also want it to be randomized on the top. So just like we did in the beginning, we can set the following objects x coordinate to a random number within the width of our canvas. And then its velocity is also randomized. So following object dot vel dot y, so how fast it goes down, that can also be randomized. And we can random it from 1 to 5. And make sure to set the following object's direction to down. As we can see, when it hit it, it kept on going up. But we want it to pull down so it can actually hit the catcher. So, down. And now that we have this, let's play the game. So as we can see, we can move left, catch, and then it goes back up. And also it's different spaces. So sometimes it looks the same, but it's random, and also the speed that it goes down is also random. But as we can see, when we're hitting this, there's no point because there's no score. So now let's actually write the code for the score. And that is going to be a variable, so let's scroll back up and let score equal, in the beginning, obviously it's going to be 0 because we haven't programmed the score yet, and the user hasn't caught any balls, so it's going to be 0 first. Now right here, whenever it hits it, we're going to update the score. So score equals score plus 1. So this is if the following object collides with the catcher, the score is going to gain 1. If the ball never hits the catcher, then obviously the score is not going to increase. Now we want to show the score. So I'm going to write program to draw the score to the screen. And how we can do this is, first I'm going to set a fill to, let's say 0, 1, 2, 8, 1, 2, 8. Oops. And then we can set the text size to, let's say, 20. And also we can write the score. So score, and then for where it says, let's just say 10:30. Now let's run, and it should show the score right here. As we can see in the beginning, it was 0, and then if we catch a ball, then the score should gain 1, and it should keep going. But if we don't catch the ball, then the score should just remain the same. And instead of just a random number, we want to label it as a score. So I'm going to write the word score in quotes, and I'm going to say equals and close it. And this is called concatenation, when we add the text with actually the variable. So now let's run it, and it should say score equals and then the score. So that is perfect, and now we can play the game. So let's catch a few. And now we have the basis of the game, and we can program it or customize it however we like. We have the basis, and all of the programming works, but we can actually change the colors, change the background, change the object, and also the catcher if we would like. But we just programmed the basis of the collection game.